السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أخباركم إيه؟ إن شاء الله تكونوا بخير. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. عشان ما نطولش عليكم.
Does Islam allow domestic violence against women? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The word darb means hit or strike in Arabic. The same way that, obviously it's a translation, but we have the word strike in English, and that can be a symbolic strike, like to strike a pose or to go on strike, versus like striking to hit something, or maybe striking with your words, to impact the hearts of thousands or something like that. So that is one translation. Darb means strike or hit. Daraba means the infinite, to strike, to hit, okay? So just keep that in the back of your mind. That's the word that they had to translate into English in this ayat, okay? Now, in my study Quran, this ayat is fleshed out and it has a lot more detail than that one, okay? And it goes, as for those from whom you fear discord and animosity, there's three things. Admonish them, then leave them in their beds, and then strike them, darb them, okay? Then if they obey you, seek no way against them, for God is truly God is exalted, great. Capital E for exalted, capital G for great. Amen. So, something we need to consider with this translation. A few key things that'll help us sort of organically flesh things out here, okay? From those from whom you fear discord and animosity, scholars have broken down to mean that fear means to know. So for those men who know, they know beyond a reasonable doubt that discord and animosity to some degree is being sown by the woman, which that word in Arabic is nushuz. Nushuz roughly translates to rise up or to be elevated. A man can commit nushuz against a woman, and a woman can commit nushuz against a man in a relationship, okay? So this word nushuz connotes an attitude of high-handedness, haughtiness, or arrogance. And it is toxic for the marriage. It is something that has to be corrected. And sometimes men mess up in relationships and marriages, and sometimes the women mess up in their own way. And this specific ayat was delivered with progressive measures to be taken in that very specific instance, okay? Now, this came down to the Prophet, peace be upon him, when a woman came to him complaining that she had been hit by her husband. The physical force had been struck against her. And the Prophet immediately ordered a retaliation. And then this ayat came down with these measures, to which the Prophet said, I wanted one thing, but God wanted another. So, fun fact, if you don't know anything about Muslims, but Muslims tend to default to modeling their behavior after the Prophet, peace be upon him. So sometimes when the word comes down, like the word has come down into the Quran, you can read it and know what it means in your heart, and then also cross-reference it with how the Prophet conducted his behavior, cross-reference it with the jurisprudence, which is the fiqh. These words came down from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that there were three things. First, admonish them. Speak your truth. Bring it up with her. Tell her that what she's doing is not correct. Then, if that doesn't work, leave them in their beds means don't sleep in the same bed. Abandon her within the home. Give some space. And then the last is to say that if that doesn't work, strike them. Now, what does that mean? What does it mean in this instance? This is what the Quran, the study Quran, then goes on to discuss. Whether or not this is symbolic, and if it is not symbolic, and it does mean physical force, what kind of physical force against a woman is permitted without it being cruel? So, I have written here that Ibn Abbas was the first commentator of the Quran who explained that the last resort, referred to in that first translation, was a symbolic one, okay? And that is also backed by the fact that the Prophet's behavior was never one of cruel domestic violence against his wife. However, not all scholars fully agree that it is symbolic, but the qualifications that they make for physical force is that it cannot harm the woman, it cannot hurt the woman, it cannot mar her beauty. So that kind of force is pretty limited. Like the kind of physical force you could be exerting without you as a man in front of the Islamic court of law getting punished for hurting her is very, 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 very narrow. Maybe shaking her shoulders, grabbing her to, try to emphasize that this is not okay, right? That is what is permitted. And nothing more than that. And the Islamic fiqh, the jurisprudence over history, shows that when men have committed these this form of domestic violence beyond that, they get punishment for it.
أنا أتمنى تشرفنا بالاشتراك وتفعل زر الجرس عشان أوصلك كل جديد. أتمنى رب إنها تكون عجبتكم. معاكم محمد الشورى، قارئ ومبتهل. دمتم في رعاية الله وأمنه، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.